Joe Rogan recently spoke his mind on the whole Bud Light controversy with Dylan Mulvaney and everybody else who was involved in that whole situation, the boycott of Bud Light, the stock going down, all that stuff. And a lot of people were very mad about what Joe Rogan had to say on the whole Bud Light situation. He pretty much ended up saying that the whole boycott was ridiculous. Like, why do we care so much? The Kid Rock video was funny, but I don't really understand why he cares so much about what Bud Light is doing and who is representing the brand of Bud Light. I would love to be able to sit down with Joe Rogan because he seems like he's just kind of that type of person that ultimately just lives and let lives. You know, it seems like he takes that to an extreme as well. As long as people aren't infringing on his personal freedoms, he doesn't really care what you end up doing. But for some reason, he gets called like an alt-righter, he gets called a hardcore Republican, a Trump supporter, whatever the case may be. And I don't think he's any of those things. I don't think he's a conservative. That's why I don't like how people are so quick on the conservative side to just hitch their wagons to people when they're not fighting the same fight that you are. Like, just because Joe Rogan agrees with you on one thing with the whole vaccine COVID situation, like, that doesn't mean that he's going to be on your side for everything. So I don't know why people get so emotional whenever Joe Rogan disagrees with them on certain topics. This is kind of what I expect Joe Rogan to say on a situation like this. But I think that if I were, or someone like Matt Walsh or Steven Crowder, anyone like that who understands the actual gravity of this situation, of the Bud Light Dylan Mulvaney situation, or even any of the other companies who are doing the same type of thing, you know, any of the other beer companies or Nike or Disney, whoever it is, if we could actually sit down with them and explain to them the actual gravity of the situation, the gravity of the choices that these companies are making, these people are making by either supporting or not supporting Bud Light and the others, I think he would understand. I think he would also change his mind. I think he's very open-minded to the whole situation. But anyway, let's see what Joe Rogan has to say about the Bud Light boycott, about the stock dropping, and about Dylan Mulvaney being the new face of Bud Light.
I'd take a light beer.
Okay, let's get some Bud Lights. Let's do this.
Yeah.
In support of Bud Light in their time
Let's
of
be
stress.
allies by getting a little day drunk.
We're going to be allies.
Yeah.
You know, because
Also, another possibility for this whole thing is the fact that Joe Rogan has been getting called alt-right and a Trump supporter and all these other things for the last few years. Maybe he is trying to gain some good favor back from the left. I think that's probably not what's going on. I think he really is just a very much, you know, an extremist when it comes to living and letting live.
Kid Rock and Travis Tritt have put the fucking hammer down.
I know. They're really fucking fighting the good fight, man.
Here's my take.
Okay.
Like, what you're doing, what they're doing is just spreading the brand to an extra group of people.
Yeah.
Why, if something is good, do you give a fuck who's got it? Like, would we do this with cheesecake? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there was like a bomb-ass cheesecake and all of a sudden, you know, some radical group like Antifa really got into the cheesecake, we'd be like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And if the Cheesecake Factory.
So he's also just showing a fundamental misunderstanding of the whole situation. It's not the fact that people are offended because trans people are starting to drink Bud Light. For one, that's not going to happen just because Dylan Mulvaney is on the can of Bud Light. That's just not going to happen. And for two, that's not why people are angry. People are angry because you're spreading this propaganda, you're spreading this message, that's the same type of message that Dylan Mulvaney is spreading, right? It's not because people like Dylan Mulvaney are drinking Bud Light. It's because they are being advertised and glorified by Bud Light on Bud Light cans as the face of Bud Light, and also getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote Bud Light. It's not the fact that those types of people are drinking it. That doesn't make any sense. I don't care who consumes the product that I also consume, but I do care what kind of people that are creating the product, what kind of messages they're pushing, what kind of morals and values do they have. And that's what the whole problem is with Bud Light. It's not the type of people that are consuming it. It's the type of people that are creating it and pushing it and spreading the agendas like Dylan Mulvaney is spreading.
Sent Antifa a cheesecake, you know, for 10 more years of chaos, you know, like a celebratory.
Yeah. If only ISIS had Bear Claw donuts, I'm still eating those fucking
But on the other hand,
donuts.
I loved Kid Rock's video.
It's the same thing as like the Disney Star Wars situation, right? I know I keep bringing that up so often, but it does have a lot to do with, you know, boycotts, because people have been trying to boycott that forever. Nobody cares if leftist, if hardcore, you know, trans rights people are consuming Disney Star Wars. Like, nobody cares. But when those people start to get in charge, and when you start pushing that message, when you start pushing that agenda, and when you start firing people who push back against that, that's when people have a problem. It has nothing to do with the consumption of the product. It has to do with the creation and the advertisement and the messages that are being pushed in the creation and the advertisement.
I love that. Cheers,
man.
I love that kind of thinking.
There's
Not
nothing
even
wrong
that
with
I
this.
agree with it. I like wild people.
Don't even act like you like drinking that piss water. Don't even act like it, dude. That shit is disgusting.
Yeah,
I like a
raising
dude,
hell, man.
I like a dude who takes a machine gun to a stack of Bud Lights and is like, fuck Anheuser-Busch.
This will show up.
But I mean, where's he gonna go now? You gonna go to Coors?
Miller Lite.
Don't they all support like LGBTQ plus AI, whatever the hell else they're attaching to it issues? They all do.
I mean, I'm from Colorado, and Coors has had those rainbow cans.
Like a lot of companies are using this person. Yeah. There's more than one company. There's like a bunch of them, like Nike and a bunch of other stuff.
Also,
the thing is, like, you can use that argument of, there's so many that, where are you going to go? You can use that argument, and it is not a horrible argument. But if we make an example out of Bud Light, if we make Bud Light really hurt, and this doesn't go away, like, hopefully we don't let this go away in the next few days. Hopefully we make this stuff stick around, make this really hurt for a long period of time for Bud Light. It will definitely deter other brands from doing it, because even though we've only done it to Bud Light and maybe a couple others that I'm missing, but as of, the current history right now, all I can think of is Bud Light that we've done this to, and because they deserve it. And if these other companies are seeing, hey, we could be the next Bud Light, we could be the next victim of this whole boycott situation if we don't stop doing this weirdo stuff, pushing these weirdo messages and these agendas. If we don't stop doing that, then we could be the next victim. We could be the next Bud Light. That's all that we need to do here. We just need to make Bud Light an example, and I think so far we've done pretty good at that.
So she's pretty. I get it. No, I mean...
Also, this guy just said that Dylan Mulvaney is pretty. Let me rewind that.
A bunch of other stuff.
Also, she's pretty. I get it.
That's disgusting,
No,
man.
I mean, I see nothing wrong.
Good luck.
Yeah, some serious issues. Even Joe Rogan, laughed. Like made a weird noise. I don't know if that was necessarily a laugh, but he was like, "Are you serious?" Like, that's how I take that noise. Like, did you really just say that? Like, she is pretty? That's... Jesus Christ, dude.
Hey, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, it's funny what people get like super outraged about. Like we're in the middle of, Tulsi Gabbard posted up some stuff the other day about the Restrict Act, and you flip the top. Here, I showed you before. Pull the top back. There you go.
Thank you.
Well, I did it before. That's like one of those teach a man to fish things.
Yeah.
It's not going to be lit.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I got to get rid of that
But,
ash.
like no one's freaking out about that, but they're freaking out about Bud Light. Like how is that the big deal? I think it's goofy because I think that person's goofy. But if you want to hire a goofy person, like, who gives a shit? It's kind of hilarious when someone says 365 days of womanhood.
It was also on April Fool's Day.
That's true too, but
That's
it also
fucked.
was just a can with that person's face on it.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It wasn't like something they were selling.
Yeah, they didn't
But
have
it's
it in stores.
No, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I like that people get mad. I thought what Kid Rock did was funny. I laughed at it. I told him I thought it was funny, but I also, it doesn't make me mad.
Not at all.
It just makes me like, what?
Well,
Like
I think it's because
I get what they're doing though. They're trying to get people that are popular. They're just looking for influencers to help them.
and they're trying to look more inclusive because
Yeah.
of the assumptions people make about Bud Light drinkers.
Well, what is the obsession, though, with all of these brands with trying to capture an audience that isn't their existing audience? Like, as you can see with the Bud Light stock chart, you can see that they were doing really good. And that's an argument that a lot of people are making. Oh, it's at a 52-week high and all this other stuff. Yeah, before the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, it was doing really well. The stock was on a pretty meteoric rise. And then the Dylan Mulvaney stuff happened and it dropped right off the earth. So they were doing really well with their existing audience. What is their obsession? All of these companies, not just Bud Light, not just Anheuser-Busch, what is these corporations' obsession with getting rid of their existing audience, with alienating their existing audience and going after an entirely new audience? Like, you're doing completely fine with the audience that you have. Why not just lean into that? Like, why do they insist on alienating their existing audience and going after these woke weirdos? It doesn't make any sense to me, but they do it over and over and over again, even though they continue to lose money. All these corporations in Hollywood continue to lose money, and they continue to go after those woke weirdos. They continue to alienate their existing audience that have been existing with these bigger IPs, these legendary IPs for 50 years, and then they just totally alienate them and go after the woke weirdos, man. It makes no sense to me.
But those assumptions.
And also, look at us. We're on the biggest platform in the world discussing Bud Light for like 10 minutes.
Right. It's probably good for the brand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely worked. It's definitely good for the brand. They paid Dylan Mulvaney hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their stock has dropped that much after, like I said earlier, a meteoric rise. It was doing really, really well. And then Dylan Mulvaney happened right about here, and it dropped off the face of the earth. So I don't think it worked. If you're one of those people that thinks all publicity is good publicity, then yeah, it did work, because a lot more people are talking about Bud Light. Normally people aren't on YouTube talking about Bud Light like this. Like that's true. But it's all negative. There's nobody out there celebrating Bud Light because Dylan Mulvaney is the new face. Like there's nobody. And nobody new is going to be drinking Bud Light because of that either. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about Joe Rogan's thoughts on the whole Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney controversy. Let me know if you agree with Joe Rogan. Do you think that he was being malicious, or do you think that he's kind of like, I just don't care? You know, I'm just like, I think personally, I think he's just a live and let live person to an extreme. And I think that he just doesn't really care. You can even hear some comments in there where he was talking about Dylan Mulvaney's 365th day of womanhood being absolutely ridiculous. So he even agrees with us on that. But it's just the fact that I don't think he fully understands what's going on with this Bud Light stuff. And like I said earlier, if I could sit down, if someone like Matt Walsh or Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, anybody who really understands the gravity of the situation could sit down with him and explain it, even like probably you watching this video could sit down with him and explain it to him, like just really what's going on here, and think this through to its logical conclusion, I think he would change his mind and he would be on board with the boycott. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about the entire Joe Rogan situation with this Bud Light stuff. And I hope to see you on the next one.